Well, hi guys. Hope your Monday is going well. We are always busy in Dispatch Training Center. Today is a harder week for us because we just finished our dispatch training, and this week and next week we are doing practice. We are dividing all our students by two, so two people in a private, semi-private class. And what are we doing? Well, we are making phone calls. So hopefully today you guys going to ask us question and we're gonna be talk about the subject. Do the brokers like to work with new carriers? Do they like to work with new attorneys? So this is a subject today. Of course, we're gonna have a guest and we're gonna ask the questions. But first, as many of you know, we need to go through some terminology. So first, let's see if we can make sure we know what is operating authority. Well, operating authority, it's also called trucking authority, and it is permission from the government for you guys, trucking companies, to haul loads commercially hired. So you're not a private physical person who is just going to decide to go and start moving freight from A to B. And why would you need to get that permission? Well, you need to get that permission if you have three things in mind. First, you want to start your own company. To start your own company, you will need to get MC number. Well, you decide to become an owner operator, maybe you're not going to work in under your authority, then you need USDOT because you are buying equipment. Or maybe you decide to be a broker. We have six different types of authority, and today we're not going to go over it because we have a different subject. So let's see. The steps to get an operating authority. Of course, all of us have to submit application. Then you receive your number. You have three following steps. You're going to have 10 days process period. Then you need to file insurance, BOC3 form. And finally, you're going to receive your approval from FMCSA. Usually, this process takes up to 21 days, 30 days. Okay, so don't think that if you're just gonna open a 30 today, tomorrow you can book the load. And we cover all this in our webinar, how to open company, how to do it right. So let's continue. You got UMC. Now, how are you gonna be working? And what are the biggest companies who are gonna be giving you freight? So let's look at this. For the rank of 2021, and I just got 11 or 10 of them. I don't remember. We're gonna see. So number one, C.H. Robinson, XPO, UPS Supply Solutions, International of Washington, GB Hunt. We have some new people. I don't ever heard of these guys. I guess they are big. I have to look into this. Never work with them personally. DHA Supply, Transportation Insight Holdings, never work with them. Of course, TQL. Well, TQL went down in their rank. Boris Logistics and Ryder Supplies. Why do you really want to see who is the best in the business? Well, because usually the bigger brokers, they can afford to start working with you from the day one. And this is a question most of you asking me. And I really would love you to start asking the questions because we need to make sure that we understand how easy it is to book the loads. I just want to make sure that connection is good because I don't see any comments. So is it? I just check in with my assistants if you guys can hear me because usually I can see all the comments and everybody who is visiting our live, and right now I cannot see it. So let's give it a 30 seconds and verify that you guys see me and you can hear me. But why the people are afraid to open MC? Because everybody in industry is telling them, well, if you guys gonna be new, nobody's gonna give you loads. So is this true or it is not true? Well, it is kind of true, but you need to understand that we have to answer a few questions. So let's first think. Can a carrier also be a broker? Right? A lot of people say, well, I want to be a carrier and a broker at the same time. Well, if the answer is yes, it's no regulations which says, well, you have to be only carrier or you have to be only broker. You can do both things as long as you're not double brokering. And what does it mean, double brokering? Well, that means that if you have your own trucks and you also have your broker and authority, and you go to direct shipper, let's say you go to some farm and you're going to be shipping watermelons for them, and your company only has 20 trucks. Of course, you cannot handle the volume of all those watermelons, right? So if you do have brokerage authority and you made connection with a shipper, you can broker out the extra freight. Is that double brokered? No, it's not double brokered. Let's say you are the carrier, right? And you booking 10 loads with some broker, but you only have 5 trucks. You calling your friends who have trucking companies and you say, well, you know what? I got really good money and I just don't have truck. Why don't I give you this load? I'll charge a little bit of money, 5-10%. You happy because maybe your dispatch is not as good, or maybe you are brand new and nobody gives you loads. So this is double brokering. Somebody booked the loads under their MC. So legally, they have to deliver the load, but they gave it to you. So this is illegal. I just want to make sure you understand this. But a lot of companies, they do have MC as a brokerage, and also they are motor carrier. Let's see, like Prime. Everybody knows Prime, right? They are brokers and they also have their own trucks, right? We used to have Swift, right? They have brokerage and they have their own trucks. We had Ignite Logistics before all this sales and all the merging going on. XPO Logistics, they have their own facilities. They have their own trailers. So this is what it means. But all of us have to be authorized for the transit. So let's see this question. So what is a load in a freight? Well, the load is a single freight shipment. Load board is a service, and we already, guys, have seen with you that. We've seen a truck stop. We've seen the TQL load board, Coyote load board, GB Han load board. So it's a marketplace. So that's where we get in our loads, right? We need to make sure before we book anything, and to be a good dispatcher, we should be very comfortable with terminology. So before I'm going to bring in our guest today, I still want to make sure that I'm educating you, right? Because my students already know this. For people who are going to join us, or for people who just love our channel and subscribe and share this information, this would be a good knowledge. So you really need to understand what is the accessorial charges. When you negotiate and you're going to be asking, well, is there anything involved? What can be involved? Well, first, we might have detention. We might have detention on loading, unloading. What is the detention? When longer wait. If we had appointment at 9 o'clock, usually we give 2-3 hours to unload. After that, we're going to ask for detention from the broker, right? Do you need to know this? Yes, you need. What is a TONU? Truck order not used. So if the broker cancel on you, do you need to get some kind of reimbursement for your time, and maybe your driver even was deadheading? What if your driver had to do the driver assist, unloading, loading, or loading, right? Anything extra which you guys did not negotiate or they adding, this would be accessorial charges. So you have to understand this and ask broker, right? A lot of times, if you don't know terminology, that's how they can spot that you that brand new dispatcher, right? Let's continue, and we're gonna catch up a little bit on terminology. Have you heard the word capacity? Well, capacity is tight. What does it mean, capacity is tight? Is capacity tight because it's no trucks? Is capacity tight because it's no loads? It can go different ways, but usually capacity is tight when we don't have enough trucks. And here I'm giving you example. When the produce market, right? produce market starts and we have so many shipments of cherries, of watermelons, of salads from California. Well, we don't have enough trucks. So the broker is going to say, well, capacity is tight. When capacity is tight and we don't have enough trucks in the area and we have more loads, what's going to happen? Spot market, spot prices, right? Spot market. That means that they're going to pay more than usually they would pay for this lane. Do you need to know this as a new dispatcher? Of course you do. What is a contract rate? Let's say you're talking to the broker and he's telling you, well, I'm paying $2,000. And you tell, well, you know what? I have deadhead. Actually, rate have been paid, market have been paying more than this. Can you do 2,300? And in the end, you hear, I'm sorry. You know what, Alex? I love working with you, but I have the contracted rate for the full year. So unfortunately, I cannot be losing money on it. So what does it mean? That means that broker actually have this lane for the full year. They agree on certain amount they're gonna pay per rate, and that's it. He can, maybe the spot market, he can pay a little bit, but do they really want to lose a lot of money? So that's what means. I have a contracted rate. Unfortunately, I'm not gonna pay more. Take it or leave it. Sometimes it can be really hard to the broker when its capacity is tight. So see, you getting already so smart. Capacity is tight, not enough trucks, right? Contracted rate. Wow, the broker is like having headache. How I'm gonna cover these loads? And here you are. You have a truck and you have good negotiation skills, right? So you need to know this. Another terminology, deadhead. Well, you are delivering somewhere in Madison, Wisconsin. Loads picking up in Lafayette, Indiana. You have 160 miles deadhead. Let's say you are new and the broker is actually giving you rate from Lafayette, Indiana going to Newark, New Jersey. And seems like it's okay rate, it's a good paying rate, but you have deadhead. So isn't it gonna be helpful to say, you know what, I would take this load, by my deadhead is kind of killing my rate per mile. So can we work on it? So what is a deadhead? Those empty miles from your previous location to the next pickup. Guys, yes, I do love negotiate, but still, I believe in one thing. Eliminate deadhead. The closer you are to your next load, the better it is for you, because your rate per mile is going to be higher. It's better for your driver because he can make transit. But also, nobody cares about your deadhead. And we're going to ask that question, our guest. We're going to see if he is willing to pay for my 300 miles deadhead. And when would he pay? Maybe when the capacity is tight and he really needs to pick up that cherry load that he has contracted rate on Saturday because one of other trucks broke down. Maybe that will be the case, and we'll see how much he's willing to pay for that deadhead. So that's something you need to understand. And let's remember another thing, ETA, estimated time of arrival. So when you're talking to the broker and he's like, okay, when can you pick up? What is your ETA? Estimated time of arrival to where? To your shipper from your previous delivery. So do you guys need to know times you are delivering? Do you need to know your equipment? And I am teaching in my class, give 2 hours for drive and to load, unload, 3 hours for reefer, load to unload, and step deck flatbed. It depends what are they bringing. Do they need a specialty equipment to unload, right? Then it's going to take longer. Do they have to have special crew to unload? Does he has to tarp, untarp? So it's all going to be depends on the situation. But that's what I do. So if your truck delivering 7 a.m. in Madison, Wisconsin, and he's a reefer, start calculating. Very simple. 7, 8, 9, 10. 10 o'clock, he's going to be empty. He might be empty earlier, but 3 o'clock, that's what I give all my reefers. 80 miles deadhead to Chicago, right? Don't look at the Google Maps because he's a truck. It's truck. He needs to do PTI. He cannot drive like you guys drive in your Mercedes and BMWs, right? He has 62 miles per hour. He has to watch out for police. He is 80,000 on the weight. So realistically, 2.5 hours. It's not hour 15 minutes. It's not 1 hour. Hour and a half, 2 hours, 2.5. So now we are talking about what? 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 1. So what is going to be your ETA, estimated time of arrival to your next pickup? 1 p.m. So if you hear this question and you can answer right away, that means that you have experience, that you are not new. So let's practice on that and make sure you guys know what it is. Another question they asking, what is the origin of your truck? And you start telling them, well, it's Chicago. No, Chicago, this is a load you're going to pick up. This is origin of your load. So origin of your truck or previous empty city, it's going to be Madison, Wisconsin. Make sure you listen to them. If they ask you once, twice, 3 times the same question and you still have no clue, sorry, but you kind of are desperate dispatcher. So start learning terminology and understand basics. Drop and hook. Well, you read in the comments on that and it says drop and hook. Well, that means the driver have to leave the trailer under dock. Drop and hook, well, it's going to be live loading. And sometimes drop and hook can be longer. It can say drop at pickup for 2 days, 48 hours, 24, maybe at the receiver. So if you hear that drop and hook and you have to come back, don't you have to ask, when exactly do I have to come back? Does it even make sense? It can make sense only if your driver, for example, lives in Memphis. He's dropping his trailer on Saturday morning. He goes home and he has to drop for 48 hours. He goes home, does his restart. He lives close by. He comes back on Sunday night, picks up his trailer, which is already loaded and leaving. That makes sense. Drop and hook sometimes work for big companies when they have a lot of trucks and they have local drivers. So some of the local drivers, they will take one trailer, go leave it for the loading, unloading. So usually, if you are dispatcher, if you have drop and hook, don't you think that should cost more money? But on the other hand, do you have to verify when I'm going to be able to pick up? Why is it drop and hook? Usually, guys, this is nonsense. If you're a small carrier from 1 to 20 trucks, please do yourself a favor and listen to my advice. One-on-one, no touch, no multi-pick, no multi-drop, no driver assist, easy loads. That's what they call them, one-on-one. So we already learning so much terminology. Well, I've been already around a lot of students and lots people like, what is ELD? You filling out those paperwork, setting up yourself as brokers. Well, you guys need to know. ELD is electronic device. We already had live about this, right? We already have provider. We have partners on our website if you're looking for ELD provider. Again, is this mandatory? Yes, it is mandatory for all the trucks, which is newer than 1999. It is mandatory. Other trucks, they can still use paper logbooks. So let's see if we have any questions. The max deadhead should be 150. Sorry, guys, I've been teaching practice today, so you can see that I'm losing my voice. Well, Carol, the max deadhead should be 150. Should it be or it should not be? Let's think about it. 150 miles on East Coast? That's a lot of deadhead. If I'm delivering in Newark, New Jersey, I don't want to go further than 30 miles to pick up. I want to pick up right there so I can get out of East Coast. If I am somewhere in New Mexico or somewhere in Wyoming or South Dakota, North Dakota, sometimes my deadhead is going to be 200, 250 miles. It depends on your equipment. So that's why knowing the market and area should be mandatory for all dispatchers and all the brokers, right? So, no, Carol, if you've been in my class, and I do believe you are in my class, right? What do I say? The best load when we pick up from the same city, even from the same facility. I do believe that deadheads should not be more than 75 miles unless it's a very, very paying good load. Okay, so try to eliminate them. Any other questions before I go? Thank you guys for verifying that you can hear me. Carol, miss you also. Location ready to grin. Oh, Alexandra is back. You missed me. We missed you too. Yes, welcome back. And we say hi, love your teaching style. Good evening. Okay, guys, let's continue. So what else we have? ELD, we covered this. Let's talk about what is the expedite freight. You're going to be filling out the setup package. And the one of the question is going to be, do you do expedite freight? So expedite freight, it's a time-sensitive freight. Most of the time, when you do UPS, FedEx during the holiday season, right? They have to go with the team drivers, or it has to be delivered on time because probably it's connecting to other kind of, so first of all, we go to airport, then the planes are taken, or it goes to different trucks. So time sensitive, that means you cannot miss your delivery or pickup. That's why they pay extra money. So if you guys for sure know that your drivers can pick up and deliver without faking logbook, without booking team load for solo guy, because you're gonna miss your expedite freight. You're gonna be lucky once, you're gonna be lucky twice, but you know what? You putting your driver in danger, it's not worth it. Just learn how to negotiate better loads. But if you do have expedite services, that's what they mean. Let's continue. What kind of carrier are we? What kind of authority do we have as a trucking company? Well, we are for hire carrier. Trucking company is for hire. We are not contract carrier. We are not. We are not freight forwarders. We are not broker freight. We are for hire carriers. That means that they hire us. They are paying us to move freight from A to B. So you guys need to understand that as a new dispatcher, right? Load to load ratio. Why do you need to know this? Well, why? Because you need to see if area you're going to is going to be good for your truck. So load to load ratio, usually this is a ratio between what? How many loads in the area and how many trucks. Very simple. So example, if today in Chicago we have 3,000 loads and we only have 1,000 reefers, what's going to happen? Market is going to go higher because they need to move. So your negotiation will be easier because they all want your truck. Well, tomorrow you are delivering it somewhere in Weatherfield, Oklahoma, like one of my trucks today, and it's a dry one. Well, what is the ratio? Well, it's only 60 loads and it's 300 trucks. So what are my chances to get a really good paying load? Not that good. Still, you negotiate, but what would be your main load? Load from Chicago to Oklahoma. And that's what we guys did. We booked the load on Friday, delivering in Weatherfield, Oklahoma, 880 miles, $3,100. What are we doing after this? We're taking a short load to connect to our Kansas pickup tomorrow. So we took 280 miles. Yes, it's 850 miles, but we are connecting for tomorrow again, strong load, coming to Plainfield, Indiana, another $2,400. So from Friday till Wednesday, we have 3,100, we have 850, and we have 24. All miles included with deadhead and everything else is $3.15. Do I have a big deadhead? Well, I had 80 miles. And tomorrow I'm going to have 90 miles. So this is my deadheads. And again, why? Because I'm somewhere in Oklahoma and Kansas in the area which does not have that many loads. So this is ratio, loads to trucks. What else? Let's see. What is the biggest challenges? Well, the biggest challenges is that we have a combination of new carrier and a new dispatcher, right? So look at this. Is that a good combination? Is that a winning combination, or is it okay? Can both of you work in trucking? Well, we're gonna find out which companies are gonna work with you even when you have only 1 day of active authority. One more time, remember, active authority, not when you paid somebody or you went by yourself to get that MC number. When it's active, from the moment you pay $300 till the moment you're gonna receive approval, and you're gonna do all other steps, which again we are covering in our webinar, 3-hour webinar coming on September 12th. How to open trucking company, usually 21 days. So 21 days pass by, you have insurance, you have everything ready, you can pick up the load. So let's see who is gonna be giving you loads. Here are the companies which will give you load. C.H. Robinson, Chapter Transport, Circle 8 Logistics, England Logistics, Fifth Wheel Freight, Integrity, Lipsy, Mersey, Online, Pepsi, TQL, Trinity Logistics. So you can rewatch this. What can you do? The moment you receive that activation, go to all of these guys. They have websites and start doing setups with them. So at least you have what? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 12 brokers who are going to be willing to work with you. What's going to happen after that? After that, after 30 days, so you need to survive those 30 days, you can add Allen Long, you can add Coyote, you can add Hub, and you can add Mod USA and other stuff. But remember, if we are talking about spot market and capacity is tight and your truck is in the area when they need your dry van or your step deck or your reefer, what's going to happen? Well, they're going to waive it for you because they need your truck. So a lot of times, if you're in a good area, I would not take the loads from those first 12. I would try to book it with somebody who wants you to be in business for 30 days, 60 days, 90 days, 6 months. You know why? Because they have no choice. They need your truck. They will waive it for you. I've done it so many times for my carriers, plus personal relationship, right? If I am dispatching people and I am bringing on board another carrier, what's going to happen? Well, I am going to say, guys, please, he's a good guy. I am managing his account. For example, I will be in charge booking the loads. You're going to make sure that your load pick up, deliver on time. Can you waive that waiting period? So this is another thing you can guys do. We almost are about to introduce our guest. Few more questions. Is it hard to be a truck dispatcher? Well, I don't know. Is it hard or is it easy? For me, it's easy. Today, I can tell you this, that we had a first practice and my students were making the first phone calls, and it's always stressful. But believe it or not, they did a great job. Do they still need to practice? Of course. Do they still need to improve their skills? No doubt about it. Are they signing up for our mentorship? At least for 6 months. But they have a strong basics. And I was more than pleased today with my first 3 students. Tomorrow I have other people. So is it hard? Well, like any job, it's multitasking, it's fast thinking, it's negotiation, it's understanding the industry. But to understand the industry, you need to get knowledge. I think it's possible. I think anybody can learn to do this as long as you have your goals. We are going to have 30 seconds break just because I'm going to introduce my guest and we're going to ask all these questions. So please, guys, share our life and don't be afraid of ask. Whatever you want to ask our guest, he's a broker. He's been in business for a long time. You can ask. I'll be back in 30 seconds and see you then. Hi, John. How are you?
I'm good, Alex. How about yourself?
I'm good. So we have a lot of new students who don't really know where you come from. So if you can do a little introduction, and then we're going to go with our subject. And my subject is today, do brokers like to work with the new carriers and the new dispatchers? So I'm really going to be picking on your knowledge. And yes, you know me, I'm going to be direct. Sometimes I'm not going to be on your side because I do take care of the dispatchers. I want to make sure they get all your money, right? So they know negotiation skills. But let's start first with you, how long you've been doing it, and also, if you like to be a freight broker.
Sure. So I started in the business in 2010 as a broker, and I worked in the spot market for that broker specifically. I handled all of their spot contracts, and I was there for 2 years. Then I moved to an asset-based carrier broker. I did dispatch. I did brokerage there as well. I had 75 trucks.
Can I stop you right here? Since we have a lot of new people, what does it mean, assets? What does it mean? What does it mean? What kind of brokerage is that?
So it's a trucking company that has their own trucks, and they also broker freight.
Okay. So here you go. That's what I was talking earlier, right? So they have both. They have MC as a motor carrier, and they have also brokerage authority, right?
Correct.
Okay.
Correct. They had contract and common carrier authority as well.
Okay. So let's keep going. Sorry, I had to interrupt you because I want to make sure that they understand the terminology.
Absolutely. So I worked there for 7 years, and then about a little over 2 years ago, I moved to my current job, which is broker only. We're based in the Hunts Point market, and we handle only produce at the current moment.
Okay. And your position, you are a broker, right?
That's correct.
Is it your own brokerage?
It is not my own brokerage.
Okay. And you guys are mostly produce broker?
Almost entirely. That's correct.
100%. And again, can you do the explanation? What does it mean, 100% produce broker?
So if we were 100% produce broker, we would only handle produce. We do occasionally handle stucco loads out of Atlanta going up to Long Island for a friend of the company, but they are not a regular customer. So everything else we handle, we have a tomato account, we have a Stop and Shop account, we have a Big Y account. We have a couple different accounts, but mainly Stop and Shop is the main driver of our revenue.
Okay. And you personally, which market do you work with? Because as my students already know, the big produce market, we have Florida, then we have Southern Texas, then we have Arizona, we have Northern California, South California, Washington, then we have Idaho with potatoes. I think this is mainly all the biggest produce markets. So which one you working with?
So within the company, I handle Florida, inbound and outbound. I handle New Jersey, inbound, outbound, local, and regional. I also handle Texas, Northern California, and I do chip in with Washington when my coworker needs a little bit of extra help.
Okay. So let's catch up a little bit on the produce markets, because it's actually a really good subject, because this will be affecting our spot market. So for the new dispatchers, when they start, when do we really start? Like, let's start beginning of the year. What is the first peak of the produce market and where does it start? Because you've been doing it for a while.
Sure. So we see rates start to taper off right around Christmas time, and then they stay that way. This year has been an anomaly because of the economic conditions.
It's unusual. It's unusual year. So let's talk about like general things going on in logistics for the last 10 years, because this year we cannot, and we don't really know what's going to happen next year. We cannot predict what's going to happen. So last 10 years. So usually Christmas time then.
So it tapers off in Christmas time, and it is dead for 2 months. You will see the lowest rates you'll see all year, aside from the month of August. So right around mid-March, citrus starts to pick up out of Bakersfield and Fresno area.
Okay, so let's stop here. In March, we have seen Bakersfield and
Fresno.
So we are talking about southern part of California, right?
Mostly central. Bakersfield is only 2.5 hours out of LA, but Fresno is dead set central California.
Okay, and we're talking about citrus, right?
Correct. So, only citrus.
Only citrus, fresh oranges, right?
Correct.
Okay.
Oranges, lemons, clementines, everything that falls in that category.
Okay. How long does that last?
About 2.5 to 3 months at the heavy volume, but it does go until November.
Okay. When other markets are kicking, so let's say it's March, then everybody tries to go to California. Not everybody can go to California due to CARB. Not everybody wants to go to California because in March, we're still dealing with the snow through Wyoming. Some drivers are not going to go through that. So what are other reefers, for example, doing?
I'm sorry, what was the question?
What other trucks are going? Are they just staying on Midwest and they just pick up other commodities, not the produce? Like they deal with them?
Yeah, Texas, South Texas, specifically McAllen and Laredo, it's berry season while it's citrus season over in California. So we're doing a lot of berry. Go ahead.
So we talk about March. So we have March in California, Central California oranges, but at the same time, we have Southern Texas, and we're talking about Laredo and McAllen, right? And we have berries there, right?
Yes, berries. Yeah, so raspberries, blackberries, they're all coming in from Mexico. They are not domestic products. So I want to make that distinction because the domestic berries happen right around the same time as cherries in California, which comes right as soon as citrus is ending.
Can I ask you challenges to working with crossing the border, Mexico border, trucks crossing from Mexico, our trucks going there? What are the challenges of picking up produce? And same with San Diego, for example, same with Nogales, same with McAllen and Laredo. What the new dispatchers really need to pay attention to?
It's a great question. So when the freight is coming across the border, you do not have contact with the truck from Mexico that picked it up from the field and is bringing it to the customs warehouse where they'll do the inspection. They'll also do, they'll prep it for loading. They might rewrap it, repack it. It all depends on what the produce is and who the buyer is. So as a new dispatcher, you need to be prepared when you're discussing the rate with the broker. Factor in, you might be sitting there for 8 or 9 hours while the product crosses, it gets inspected. It might even have to be repackaged and recooled. So take that all into consideration when you're negotiating your rate.
So let me ask you this. How often do you lie to me, for example, experienced dispatchers, that product is already ready, but you know it's not across the border, but you need my truck. Do you lie about this or not? Just be honest.
I wouldn't do it. It's not worth it because then you have a very angry carrier and you no longer have a truck.
Okay. But do you see this happening in the industry all the time?
Absolutely.
Because I see it on my side. They say, well, product is ready. Just go there. The truck gets there. Product did not even cross the border, did not pass USDA inspection, which is a must as well, right? Then my driver is pissed. I'm out of hours and I still have to do the transit. So what would you suggest for the dispatchers to do before the truck is going to start deadheading to Laredo? Or maybe it's heading to Laredo and they say, well, actually, no, now it's picking up in McAllen. Oh, you in Yuma, Arizona. Oh, no, now you need to go to Nogales, 300 miles difference. Oh, you in San Diego. No, go back to other pickups. So what do you think the smart dispatcher should do?
There are two things. The first thing the dispatcher needs to understand is when the broker says it is a first come, first served shipper and the product is ready, if somebody else has that same product booked to pick up and they get there before you, that product goes on their truck. So that's something you need to understand, the concept of first come, first serve. Yes, you will get your freight, but there's a process and you need to go into it and understand the broker is not lying to you when they say the freight's ready. So
that's why probably when you negotiating and you know that you picking up that produce with cross-border, you already should know. But new dispatchers don't know that. So they don't really consider that when they negotiating. But let's say, well, the truck came there, it's first come, first serve. He did not get loaded and it's not 5 hours. It's not 8 hours. It's already like 12 hours. He has to wait till the next day. What are you offering to carriers and dispatchers at that point?
That's a great question because most carriers will ask you for detention and layover. You do not get both. You will get a layover at that point. So
okay,
most brokers.
Layover rates for your company at the moment?
I'm sorry, say that again?
What is the layover rate for your company at the moment? What do you guys pay for layover per day?
So it is per truck. It is $250. I have had carriers ask me for $250 per driver. That is not how it works. They get paid per the truck, which is a very important thing to remember as well, because as a dispatcher, your deal with your drivers does not necessarily reflect what you will get paid from the broker.
Okay. When is your detention stopped? How many hours it's still considered detention?
Depends on the broker. It depends on what's in their contract, what's in their rate confirmation.
We're talking about your company right now. So I mean, let's be realistic with your company. What is your company now paying detention up to how many hours?
It is detention after 8 hours. But if it's something like 12 hours or you're getting loaded the next day, it's a flat $250 layover.
And you have longer detention, and I want guys to understand, because you are produce broker. So with the produce, it's a little bit different. We have to make sure it's pick up. So most of other brokers, they would start paying detention after 3 hours, 4 hours, even 2 hours. For example, if you book the dry load with Convoy, after 2 hours, they pay. Detention varies from $15 to some people pay $75, but every broker is different. So dispatchers, especially new dispatchers, have to understand that it's going to be different rate for different type of equipment. Okay, so we got detention, we got layover. Let's say, I mean, you're not a god, I'm not a god. You cannot predict rain in Washington. It started raining. They are not. You were hoping that they're gonna pick up cherries. Well, they did not pick up cherries. It's raining really hard. You're not gonna have cherries till Monday. Let's say we're talking about Friday truck. Now you have a pissed driver who were sitting there till Saturday morning. You paid him layover. You promising him that he's gonna get loaded Saturday night while it's still raining. What are you gonna do? Are you just gonna keep him till Monday? Or you gonna recover this? You're gonna pay him detention for a day and a half and then find a new truck? Or what are you gonna do?
So with the company I work for right now, what we'll do is offer the truck another day of layover to wait until Monday. In some cases, this is beneficial to the carrier if they were running low on hours or running recap hours, so he can reset his clock, be ready for Monday. On the flip side of it, if he says that he wants to leave, and this happened to me 3 weeks ago, I said, okay, you can leave, but if you are bailing, we are not canceling you. So you will not get paid your layover, your truck order not used. We are offering a solution. You can take it or leave it. We want you to stay, but this is what it is because we are your customer.
Okay. What is TONU? Truck order not used. Can you ever give TONU, and what would be a good example? And what do you think it's fair?
So if a truck goes to a shipper and sits there for 6 hours, 12 hours overnight, and the shipment is canceled, they are due a truck order not used. If I were to book a load with you, Alex, and then your truck's empty 2 hours from now, and an hour from now, for whatever reason, I have to cancel the load, your truck has not moved. You have incurred no additional cost. You are not due layover or truck order not used, excuse me.
Okay. Well, if we did not move and if you was, and I had time to recover, maybe yes, right? But let's say my truck deadheaded. You bagged me to deadhead, right? Mm-hmm. So I was in Seattle. You bagged me, Alex. You know what? I really need, I have that guy who just left, right? And I'm deadheading there. So Seattle to Yakima area, 160 miles. Rain still going. Boom, you still have no product. What are you going to pay me? Just the TONU? I already drove 160 miles to you, John, and I'm going to me. I'm not going to be a happy camper. I am not going to be in a good mood. So what can you do for me? And we know that cherries are not going to be coming till Monday.
So you being a regular carrier of ours, we will approach that very differently than a truck off the street because we have an existing relationship. And I'm sure you've done stuff for me in the past that have helped me out. So what I will do in that situation, if I don't have an available load for the next morning, I may even cancel another carrier off of a load for the next morning and give it to you.
Because we have a relationship, because you know that I'm a loyal carrier and I did jump and I said, okay, I'm deadheading for you. I'm going to help you out. So if you're going to have somebody new and you have me who've been doing this business, well, let's be fair. You need to make sure you keep my relationship because I've been there with you for so many years and we deliver and we communicate. So yes, probably sometimes you will cancel on the new carrier. What are you going to tell them in this time? You
I'm going to
cancel
tell
it.
them that the customer took the load back. They no longer need the cherries. We're not handling it. I could say
Okay.
it's going on the rail and they don't want it for a week, because who wants to hold a load from Washington to Chester, New York for 8 days? Nobody.
Okay. So let's be realistic and we are honest here, right? And especially you're going to be teaching brokerage with me. So let's be honest. Sometimes we as a carrier, we do lie, make up stories, right? If I found a better load. And sometimes you as a broker have to lie to somebody because you have to save my relationship, right?
That's right.
Well, maybe not as honest business, but sometimes we have to, let's say, not tell all the truth, right? Change our plan. Let's put it this way, right? Because lie sounds like too bad. But yes, this is a reality of this. Guys, ask the questions, please. Okay, so we got detention, TONU, we got produce. We start in March, citrus in California. We have berries in southern Texas, not domestic berries. Well, we go into April. What's starting in April?
So nothing is really starting in April. However, Florida in May is Mother's Day. You might get some flowers around Easter time, but Mother's Day is the big holiday. Again, this year has been totally anomalous. Florida is normally good for 1 month of the year. It just died 3 weeks ago. So that's what we're talking about in May in Florida. It's flowers, and then cherries start in California as well.
So we have flowers before Mother's Day, and Mother's Day, all of you should know, right? Second Sunday of May. I know that because my birthday right there, so I know. My kids don't buy me double presents. They say, "Mom, one present is enough," which is okay. But they know that we always go shop for flowers. So dealing with flowers, any suggestion for you as a broker? Because I am telling my dispatchers, do not take one pick, 17 drops can become a nightmare, because that's what usually happens with the nursery loads, with the flowers. Secondary, make sure you have E-tracks and all the straps to secure those rolling carts. What is your suggestion with those flowers?
Alex, we don't handle flowers. We don't want the liability, and they don't pay.
That's probably the reason why, right? Because
that's one of the reasons.
Of all the shifting of those flowers, and they breaking down, and the drivers are not securing them, because you're going to be losing money as well if you have 5-6 loads of flowers which were damaged in transit. So you guys do not deal with flowers.
No, we don't deal with flowers, and there are a couple reasons, but the biggest one right now, aside from the liability, is the rate. Everything is high, except that I mentioned that Florida died recently, but we were paying $7,500 on a 1-and-1 from Miami to Boston. That's not the right rate. That's a rate from South Texas at the height of berry season on a normal year. And we were paying that from Miami, which is about 800 miles less. So why would I mess around with a 1-pick 17 drop load when I can do a 1-and-1 and not have the headache?
Yes, and making sure that you have a truck, because if you're going to commit as a broker to that rate and then you cannot find a truck, what's going to happen in this case? Where's the money coming out from?
There's only one place.
Your pockets, right? So that's why we're going to be teaching that in our freight broker classes, how to understand what you want to deal with and not. And here's a good example. I don't want to deal with flowers. Too much liability, too costly, and it's just too much headache, right? Too much headache. Why should we do that even as a freight, and why should I do it as a carrier? Okay, then we start in there in the end of May, we start in the corn, starting in and watermelons in Immokalee area. 2-3 weeks, dies, then it goes to Central Florida, Lakeland, Tampa area, then it moves to Jacksonville, then Lake City, Georgia, Tallahassee, Florida, then it's keep moving to South, and we're moving forwards to peach season and all the stuff. So this is part of, and we are ending up right now peach season, so we ending up, like you said, a few weeks before, but it's already southern Georgia and South Carolina. Let's go back to May in Washington. What's going on in May in Washington in California? So citrus still going, but is there something we adding?
So we already discussed cherries in California. There is about a 2-month window through the end of July that cherries come out of California. As a carrier, you need to avoid the first 2 weeks and the last 2 weeks due to cherry quality. This is very important. Cherries are one of the most expensive commodities. They run anywhere from $40 to $100 per case, and you're talking upwards of 3,500 cases per shipment.
So what is the value of the 53-foot river rain cherries, the yellow cherries, the most expensive one? What is the value of the load?
Depending on if they're organic or conventional, anywhere from $100,000 to $150,000.
$150,000. So I am a dispatcher. You telling me that it's going to be yellow cherries. Shouldn't I ask you the value of the load?
Yes, absolutely.
Because I only have 100,000. Are you gonna ask if I have more than 100?
I should. There's one way that I might not. So my company is additionally insured with a rider policy to cover anything over $100,000. So typically you're not going to have a full claim with cherries. A lot of the time what happens, due to the cooling process, they do not shrink wrap the pallets and the boxes interlock. They are secured with airbags, but occasionally the driver does not secure them properly. So when that happens, they tip. The boxes, which are used for displays in the stores, are crushed, and it's a problem. It goes on the carrier for not properly securing the freight.
Okay. So you said quality of the cherries, because the new cherries, sometimes they're not ripe enough, so they can have a rejection of them, and they already too overripe, right? So even though this as a dispatcher, right, and for you to give us that tip, it's very valuable. But what else dispatchers have to really tell the drivers to do? Can you explain the terminology of the pulp, the product, and why is it important?
Yes. So let's take cherries as the example because it's a good one. These cherries are not harvested by machine. They are picked by hand. They are then sorted by size, and they are cooled down. Once they're flash cooled, they are packaged into the little clamshell, the handheld clamshells that you see in the store, and they're put on boxes and then put on pallets. If you do not pulp the freight, there's no way for you to know that those cherries were properly cooled. I have every one of my carriers pulp the freight, and every once in a while they'll call me and say these cherries are pulping at 45 degrees. Now what happens with that, when you turn your reefer onto 33 continuous, the outer layers of the pallet will get cool, but the inner layers will not get that cool air, and the cherries will rot, they'll get soft, and then the boxes will get wet and the pallets will collapse and you will have a claim.
Okay, but I am now on a carrier side, and I know that a lot of times shippers will not allow driver on the dock. They put the product, they put the seal, that's it. So how can I give you the pulp of the temperature if they don't let my driver to go on the dock?
That's the beauty of living in a 24/7 business world. If you find that out as a carrier, your driver needs to call you and you need to call me, the broker, and say, they are not allowing me on the dock to pulp the product. So I need your help. We need to figure this out. And then I will email the customer and I'll say, hey, they're not allowing us on the dock. We can't be held responsible for the temperatures. But before I even get to that point, I'm going to call the shipper myself because a lot of these COVID dock restrictions are no longer in effect. A lot of them have been lifted, and now these carriers are still using it as an excuse.
But a lot of them coming back. For example, Chicago just put back on the masks and everything else. But here it is. We have to understand, if the driver tells you that they're not letting me on a dock, now this is a responsibility of the dispatcher to contact you and discuss. You cannot just take off. Even if they put it on and they're not letting you in, that's when you're going to have liability if you did not do this step. Yes, I understand maybe sometimes it's going to take a few hours because they have to reach out to you. You have to reach out to customer. Maybe they even have to take product back and chill it before they're going to put back. Yes, probably the tension is going to occur, but it's better than to have a claim for 100,000 of rejected product due to not pulping their produce. And again, all the rate confirmation are going to say, if you did not pulp and you did not tell us, or if the temperature was too high and you just decide to drive just because you on EOD or because you want to come back and make all those $12,000 for cherry loads and come back again, well, this is your responsibility, right? So that's why we have people who doing it professional and people who don't have a clue what is the pulp of the freight. Well, it's not, it's a pulp of the temperature. Here we have a question. So Ken, this means pulp in the temperature. You buy a thermometer and your driver has to check on the temperature. And if the temperature is higher than it should be, you need to call John and say, hey, John, you told me that apples have to be at 34, even with apples, and they at 48. And let me tell you this. If John is after hours, right, and he just works at night and he tells you, oh, don't worry about it, just keep driving. Well, you want to make sure that whoever works after night is over there, they have to email you. And they're going to say, well, yes, Alex, on the load 11556, it is okay to drive. Why? I can tell you from my side, I want to make sure that I have the proof that you tell me that I can go. Right?
That's absolutely right. Cover your butt.
Cover your butt. Okay, so we are already in May, June, July, cherries. So we have cherries from California, starts in California, that overpriced cherries, and then Washington kicks in. So what's happening in June, July in Washington?
It's not June, it's July and August in Washington.
July and August, okay.
You might get a little bit in June. It really depends on the weather, but it really kicks in with that overlap of about 2 weeks with California. You always have apples in Washington.
That's when the prices goes higher, right? Because we have California and we have Washington and we have tight capacity, not enough trucks, right?
That's correct. And Washington is a very different animal than California. California, you're looking at 100-mile deadhead, maybe 150. But you're picking up apples and cherries in Wenatchee and Pasco, Yakima. Your truck's getting empty in Seattle. It's getting empty in Portland. It might even be getting empty in Spokane, which is not that bad, but it's not typical to get empty on that side of the state.
Okay, so deadhead. So when you asking me ETA for pickup, and you asking me, Alex, I do need to make sure I set up pickup for you. What is your ETA? New dispatcher or experienced dispatcher should know the distance in transit, right? Because how do you know? Do you know where my truck is?
If you tell me, if you're calling me, I don't know where your truck is unless I ask. If I'm calling you, it's because I see your truck on the load board. So I know exactly.
I am calling you. I am a brand new dispatcher. I am so scared to call you. First time start calling about, oh yeah, I don't know, Yakima, new work, can I get details? Right? Okay. Right there. For today, for tomorrow, for yesterday. What are you calling for, right? Okay. Let's say now, even that first expression, can you hear this dispatcher is new or not? How can you hear? So give me an example. How do you know that it's brand new dispatcher, a person who does not have a clue? By which phrases? Which phrases you know, like, okay, maybe I'm not even going to talk to them because we are busy. We need to make sure people know what they're doing. Because it can be an old carrier, but a new dispatcher. It can be a company who've been in business and they do a good job, but they have a new hire. So how can you feel? Just give me funny examples, like, because you have that all the time.
Sure. So I do business with a gentleman based out of Florida. He's around 25 years old, and he hasn't been doing it for that long. One of the things he'll say to me, so I'll talk to him, I'll call him, he'll call me, it doesn't matter, but because we have an existing relationship, and I'll give him the details. He takes them down very well, but he has a lot of filler words. And I can just tell he's looking things up. He might not know where Kissimmee, Florida is. He should, but he'll say, okay, let me check with my manager. Please don't hang up. Why would he say something like that? He's calling me. I'm calling him. We're in the midst of a conversation. It's because he doesn't want to lose the deal. And I know that. And I know that he's a little green behind the ears. So he'll come back and he'll say a phrase to me every time that just sticks in my ear. And he'll go, John, I'm going to be 100% honest with you. I know I'm about to hear a line of something that it's got bits of the truth in there, but there's also something he's leaving out that he's not saying. I wait for that. That is my key as a broker to know he wants this load, but he doesn't really want me to know what his bottom line is.
Okay.
And every single time he does that, I know whatever price he gives me, I'm going to do better with him.
Okay, what about the line, let me check with my driver. Let me put you on hold. They put you on hold or pretend to put, or they may be really cold. And then they say about, well, this is an owner operator. You want to pay 8,000? No, we need 12,000. You have that huge gap of nonsense because maybe the highest paying load that day is 9,000 and they're asking you for 12, 3,000 difference. Isn't it that something which you can spot that person just have no clue of the market, or actually they are really calling that owner who also has no clue, but of course he's gonna ask for this enormous amount of money. Doesn't it that like a worse combination, like greedy owner or maybe owner who always gonna ask for way more than the market's paying, and the dispatcher who cannot make decision, and he sit there and say, so what do you tell them in this case? So that's like me, please, I just checked with my owner and yeah, he has to be at 1,200. Don't be greedy, John. Don't be greedy. You broker. Can you give us 12,000? And we were talking about 8,000. So what would you do in that case?
Alex, it's a perfect example because I'm using one of those in my negotiation course. I had a carrier call me who I had set up 2 weeks prior. They'd already done 5 shipments for me. A different guy from that company calls me and he asked me about a load out of Wenatchee with 2 drops, load of cherries going to Plant City, Florida and Miami, Florida. I knew that my bottom line on that load was 10,500. But I also know that this carrier doesn't know the market based off of the other lanes they did for me going to New York and Massachusetts. So I told him the details. I told him it's 10,000. He's asked me how close I can get to 13,000. He's using a technique called high anchoring. He doesn't know where I am trying to be at on the shipment, so he's going to throw out a number that is borderline ridiculous and hope that I split the difference with him at 11,500, because that's what most people do when they're negotiating. They try and split the difference. They think compromise is a good thing. It's not. It benefits nobody. So I come back to him and I said, look, Jay, I can do 10,300. I think that we're too far apart. He immediately came down to 11,000. It was at that moment I knew I was going to hit my target.
You're going to say, okay, I can meet you in the middle for 10 and a half, right?
Something like that. So what he said to me was, come on, can't you do more for my driver? So I said, all right, hold on. Let me speak to my manager. I didn't speak to my manager, but I put him on hold. And I put him on hold for about a minute and a half. This is a technique I use all the time. They think that you are fighting for them. So your manager is the bad cop and you're the good cop. You want to get them as much money as you can. At least you want that to be the perception. And this is something that's going to be in the negotiation course. This is one of many techniques we're going to go over. So I come back from my phone call and I said, listen, Jay, I spoke with my manager, told him what company you're with. He likes you guys. You do a good job. But 10.5 is going to be my final offer. And he took it.
Yeah, that's what I do when I need a better rate. Okay, let me check with my management. I don't even check. I'm looking and I'm teaching my classes and like, well, no, I need to be. So we do it from different side. I'm a carrier side, but still, it has to be kind of making sense. What about if you ask those questions? Well, where is the origin of your truck? What do you mean? Philadelphia or whatever, Yakima, right? So they don't even know. What if you asking them, so do you have a, let's say, reefer? And they don't know. How much can you scale? So when you ask them exactly questions about the equipment, about if the driver has fresh hours, right? And he's like, what do you mean? I don't know. I'm just texting to Telegram to add extra hours. I'm still faking logbook, right? Whatever the case is. So when you ask them directly the things they should know, the name of the driver, the truck number, the trailer, what previous commodity are they delivering? Because don't you want to know, you're picking up cherry. Do you want to have a stinky, dirty reefer after bulk potatoes or maybe some seafood, right? No, you don't. So you want to make sure that it's a food grade trailer, right? Clean, no odor, no holes, no nothing. So tell me this, does that indicate that they don't have experience?
It may. Sometimes they might not have all the answers to those questions, like driver's hours or previous commodity. They might be working with their coworkers, so that might not throw it off for me right away. But if we're dealing with a certain type of person who doesn't seem to be listening to you, you don't need to be rude to them, but you can say, okay, let me just check one thing real quick. Put them on hold, come back, say the load's covered, thank you for the call. and then you can move on.
Thank you. We have a question from Andre Benton. He's just finished my classes, and hopefully we're gonna see him. We already in safety, and he's gonna be a next big star. So one day we're gonna see him in a freight brokerage. Probably he's asking, John, what is the worst experience had with new dispatcher because cause not to work with that new carrier?
So I haven't really had any bad experience with new dispatchers. I avoid it altogether. A lot of the times it's about new companies and not so much new dispatchers. I have multiple companies where I work with multiple people, but it does help to have one single point of contact. That way you not only know how to negotiate with the person, you know their work ethic, and you also understand that they're going to take care of you because you take care of them. So when you have certain standards, like we don't work with companies who've been in business less than a year, you avoid a ton of issues right up front.
Okay. So we also have people saying that, we all liars and everything else. Brokers are liars, carriers are liars. But new carrier, why is it challenging for you? Let's say, is it smart decision? I am a carrier, right? I am brand new. I have one truck. Maybe you work with me, but I only have one truck. Are you gonna give me that load coming all the way from Washington, going to East Coast, coast to coast load? Are you gonna do that?
Absolutely not. If your truck breaks down, who's going to pick that trailer up and move it? You have one truck. I have to hope that you'll sign onto a trailer interchange agreement and let me haul your trailer. And at that point, you're going to not only, if you went from Washington to Chicago, you still have to get that trailer all the way to Boston, and it cost me $8,000 and I paid you 10. Guess what? You just got $2,000 to go from California to Illinois. Or Washington to Illinois, excuse me, because I'm going to take it out of your receivable.
Okay. Let's talk about dealing with rejections due to quality of the cherries. Are you going to help those carriers to solve the problem? Because, for example, you have a new dispatcher who never had a rejection. You have a rejection. They don't know. No, they're going to call you and, telling you, oh, my God, John, we have a rejection. What should we do? I think that John is frozen us. So hopefully he'll come back. I'm going to bring him back when I see that his connection is there. And I'm going to continue. So guys, ask the question, please. We have a few more minutes to go. But is it easy to be a new carrier? And is it easy to be a new dispatcher? Oh, John is back. So I'm bringing him back. Sorry, you froze there for a second. So, again, how to build a relationship with a broker. Which dispatcher and new carrier are you going to give a chance? Loyalty, negotiation. But what are you looking in a dispatcher? What they should do to make this relationship better? Like maybe updates, maybe be honest about the situation, breakdown. Maybe what do you think would be good and succeed? Like, for example, our companies and my dispatchers, we have a long-lasting relationship. We're talking about years and years and years. But what are you looking for from dispatchers and new carriers to offer to you guys that you're going to be also loyal to them?
I want communication, and I want them to take responsibility when things go wrong and not just dump it in my lap and tell me to figure it out.
Okay.
So that can happen.
Responsibility, right? Updates. Are you looking for, because you're talking coast to coast, are you looking for hourly updates? Are you looking once a day? Or are you looking Monday and night updates? How do you guys handle that? Because I know you guys have after hours, you have guys who call in and check in. So that, how often would you like to get updated? The truck goes from Yakima to Bronx Market.
I want to update once a day, and I want to know if there's an issue. I don't need to know if there's a flat tire, but if you have a blown turbo or if you have a broken axle, I need to know these things because this isn't drive freight. It can't sit on your truck for a week. It will go bad and we will have a claim.
Okay. What's happening when, let's say it happened, right? And yeah, maybe I'm carrying with only 3 trucks. You still give me the load. Well, I am somewhere. And it's actually happened with my company. And we were under your load with apples a few months ago, right? We were in North Dakota. We had to get the towing service. We went to the closest dealer. We had to reschedule and we had apples. That's another thing. I know that cherries pay dramatically great money. Even when it's the cherry season, I am still taking apples because you still guys pay a great money. So the difference in $1,000, $1,500 for me personally is not worth it. I want in and out of the facility. I'm not want to sit there. So I was lucky. I have apples. Not lucky just because I have experience, right? I already know what's going on. So I had to reach out to you guys right away. And I'm like, you know what? Here what happens. I mean, I cannot predict breakdown. And we had a problem with some turbo something. Took me a day and a half. I was lucky because I know all the dealers. They fixed it me without any schedule. Again, why? Because I'm under the load. So a lot of dispatchers don't know. When you go to dealer or you go to reefer company like Thermo King Carrier, if you are under load, you can tell them and you kind of like, guys, please help me. I have cherries in my trailer. I have apples. Please, can you take me in front? And most of them, they have a policy, special Thermo King. They have policy. If you're loaded, they will take you in front of all other trailers. But again, it's also you have to be nice when you call to schedule that appointment. You need to make sure you stress out that you delivering something high value. So you guys had to reschedule. And I know that usually the fee is $500 for the missed appointment. But because I communicated with you earlier, I send you the receipt from my towing $1,500. For me, fixing truck, another $3,700. Well, you guys did not really charge me. You could have charged me, but you helped me out. Again, why? Because I gave you, I texted guy at night. It was like 11 p.m. because I have your cell phones. I call you after hours and say, well, guys, we have to reschedule. Start putting right away. We're not going to be there. I'll give you update. In the morning, I still did not know what's happening because we did not know about the parts. So that afternoon, I still gave ETA to my truck now, and then you guys schedule. So is that something you think is so important to build the trust relationship and like solving problem, right? Because I mean, it's trucks. They break.
Yeah, we won't always ask for repair receipts, especially if we have a relationship with the carrier and we can just take them at their word. Customers rarely ask for that. But like you said, yeah, we get charged a reschedule fee, a missed appointment fee, but customers are always more flexible when you don't wait until the last minute. Commodity like apples, they sit in the warehouse for months. So it's not about the product going bad in that case. It might be a certain kind of apple that Stop and Shop has an ad out for the next week. So they need to get it in inventory. Then they need to go distribute them to the local warehouses. It all depends on what the commodity is, but early communication is key.
Is a key. Okay, let's go back because we have to kind of finish the year. So we stopped in August. So right now is August. What's going on in August right now? Washington is dead. It's still Spain. California is dead. What's going on right now?
Everyone's on vacation. Everyone. Yeah. Capacity is down a little bit, but so is the amount of freight. So it's all relative. Another couple weeks, it'll start picking back up with all the normal commodities we have right now. Everything. We still do berries out of California. Apples are year-round in Washington.
Which part of California berries coming out right now?
Santa Maria, which is on the southwestern coast, about 150 miles west of LA.
So can you give us example of the rate? Santa Maria, one pick, let's say going to where you usually guys go to Pennsylvania, Maryland, and New York. So give us one rate for this week. Like today, what did you pay today?
Perfect. So today we did Santa Maria to Halifax, North Carolina, which is right off of I-95 by Virginia. We paid $9,500.
Okay.
It's the same mileage as going to Jessup, Maryland, or Carlisle, Pennsylvania. So we paid the same to there as well, $9,500.
Why is that?
So you're looking to essentially pull a backhaul out of the same market, which is Virginia. And Virginia, it's a little bit less miles, not by much. We're talking 100 miles, but it's a better market to pull out of compared to Pennsylvania or New Jersey.
Plus, so you'll get the tolls on 76. You know, if you go,
exactly.
So the toll's going to be there at $350, $420 just for the tolls.
That's true, but we don't typically talk about that with the carriers. They might try and use that as a negotiation tactic, but tolls, fuel, deadhead, it's all part of doing business.
Well, but still, if we're going to use 76 and you have the same load, which I don't have to use, and you go to North Carolina and you're paying the same price, excuse me, but I'm a pro dispatcher. I'm not going to go to Jessup, Maryland for the same price, I'd better go to North Carolina. Yes, of course. If I'm going to ask you, well, John, you have to pay me more because of the tolls, and you're going to tell me, Alex, you know what? Don't give me this speech. You're a professional. You know your cost. You know your bottom dollar. You know the market. Yes, we have a relationship. I'll give you $500 more, or maybe even 1,000, just because you loyal and you're doing a good job. But are you gonna give me 3,000 more? No. Are you gonna give me 2,000 more? No. Are you really gonna give me 1,500 more? Not really, right? So as a negotiation, sometimes throwing them, oh, the fuel is cost a lot. Well, and the prices went higher, right? So we're talking about fuel cost for this is the data I just researched yesterday because I had a big meeting, not yesterday, last week. So fuel compared to last year went 37% up, right? Rates went up also 33% up. So rates are up, fuel up. In the end of the day, you need to know how to calculate your operating cost. And that's what we're going to be covering in our mentorship and all other things, and in probably our freight brokerage, right? Because we need to know operating cost. So on my side as a carrier, you need to know how much your equipment costs, insurance, fuel, tax, IFTA, tolls, pay to the driver, preventive maintenance. On your side, what does it cost on your side as a brokerage?
So we do have insurance. You're also going to be talking about your employee costs, which isn't that expensive. Being a freight broker, it's not a very high-paying job, but it's a very interesting job. You're also going to be talking about, do you pay rebates to your customers? A lot of these customers, it's built in their contract that they get a 5% across-the-board rebate. Mm-hmm. It's just another way for them to skim money off the top, and unfortunately, it is what it is. It's the industry we work in. I mean, you know that too. We've discussed this.
Yeah, we discussed this. Okay, so we are back to August, September. What about Idaho? Do you guys deal with Idaho, the potatoes, all that stuff going on? Bulk potatoes, palletized potatoes? Do you guys deal with that?
We deal with palletized potatoes. Bulk potatoes are an absolute nightmare, especially having to sweep those little small fingerling potatoes out of the grooves of the reefer once you're done and get a washout. We don't want to mess with it.
So now, if let's say you are a broker for for potatoes, and this is a bulk product, and I'm negotiating, and then I'm saying, well, John, that's great. You're giving me $6,000, but I also need to make sure you're going to reimburse me wash out of the trailer. Is that a valid request as accessorial charges? I'm sorry, but you know that I will need to wash out. Would you, as a broker, reimburse me, or you would say, well, Alex, you should have known that when you were negotiating?
Number two, Alex, you're absolutely right. You need to know that. If I tell you bulk potatoes as a dispatcher, you need to understand what that entails.
So when I'm negotiating with you and you're telling me, well, 6,000 right there, I say, well, you know what, John, 6,000 is great, but I will need to spend time to wash the trailer. I need to pay for that. So that means that I have a chance, maybe even a loose day in transit, because if I'm delivering on the East Coast, it depends when I'm delivering. By the time I'm going to find a washout, so that's why, you know what, John, because of all of this, I don't really need a reimbursement, but my rate, I need to be at 6,300.
Exactly. You're paying for your driver's time. You're paying for the mileage to your next washout. And your driver, you're going to have to pay him to sweep out the trailer. They don't do things for free.
No, nobody does. Do you work for free? I don't. I don't. Sometimes feels like, but not really. So let's continue. So what happened in October?
So October, it starts to get a little busier. And now we're talking about holidays influencing pricing. So it starts to ramp up in October, but November, the week or two before Thanksgiving, so essentially the first 2 weeks of November, your rates start to go high. And 4 years ago, we were looking at rates to Long Island out of LA at $12,500. And this is before these crazy numbers we're seeing today. So
predicting that the rates are going to go crazy in the beginning of November because of the holidays.
I do. I mean, February of 2020, we were paying $5,700 from Fresno to Port Washington, New York. That is a $10,500 load right now.
Different, yeah, okay.
And that was in the dead of winter.
So how are you gonna protect yourself? Not to
spot market quotes.
spot market, right?
Yep, spot market only. We really don't take many contract loads nowadays. It's the quickest way to get burned and lose money and have to shut down.
And again, we have questions, any suggestion on how a new dispatcher establish business relationship with brokers to get new loads? Again, let's say Carol's calling you. She's in California when you really need the truck, but her authority is only 60 days. How long actually they have to be in a business to work with you guys?
Depends how desperate we are. It really does. If we are trying to book a load at 10 o'clock in the morning, we're not going to use her. If it's 4 o'clock in the afternoon, somebody dropped on us, yeah, we're going to use a 2-month MC, a 1-month MC. We're not going to use somebody who's been in business for 9 days. We'll tell the customer our truck broke down. We'll email them at 10 o'clock at night and say the guy's reefer isn't starting. Again, we're all liars to some degree. It's just a matter of managing it, and the people you care about, the people who protect you in this business, you don't lie to them.
But still, what is illegal like, right? I mean, what is your policy? The carriers have to be how long in a business for you to take them to give them load? What are
1
you
year.
guys? 1 year. So
Yes.
1 year you have to be in business before you, but because you a produce broker. So you need to make sure that they know what they're doing. So it's a little bit different for people who deal with just dry freight or, different commodities. Okay. What is this? Having first audit is the best way to go. So does that help? If they already passed the first audit, but they don't really have 1 year, do you guys kind of gonna still give them a chance again? Probably, if you really need the truck, right?
If we really need the truck, the audit has nothing to do with it. If we don't need the truck, the audit has nothing to do with it.
Let's talk about how do you check. I am calling you. You asking me what is your MC. I'm telling you 555, 555. You checking me. Let's say I am not a new carrier. I've been in business for 2 years, but maybe my safety is not good. Or maybe I am the company which also books loads, cancel loads, which has a lot of, how do you check?
The first thing when somebody calls me for a shipment is I ask for their MC number. I go to carrier411.com. I plug it in. This is a service that brokers use. I can tell when they got their authority. Is it active? How long have they been in business? What's the phone number and email of their company on file? So for example, if a carrier calls me and his number doesn't match and his email don't match, doesn't mean I'm not going to give him the load. But I have to call the number on Carrier 411. I have to say, hey, I have James at this number with this email calling up to book a load. Does he represent your company? This is how you catch people who are trying to scam you and steal your freight and steal your money. So you need to also review their 3 broker references, call the broker, see how long they've been doing business. Do they have problems with them? Do they do a great job? This is all part of the carrier setup process.
Okay, let me ask you this. Do you report carriers? When would you report carrier so other brokers can see that information? Do you do that often? Have you ever done it? And what would you put there?
So we've had carriers steal freight from us. We've had carriers try and extort money out of us through various scams. We've had carriers cancel on us last minute. We've had carriers double broker. We typically don't file a report for a cancellation because, remember, you're dealing with people. They have livelihoods. Something might have happened where they had to cancel. This is not something that is worthy to blast all over the internet. But if they tried to steal your freight, if they did something that was very unethical, like extort $500 out of you for 2 hours detention, threaten to hold a load hostage, all of these things, you do not need to worry about their feelings or the future of their company. You need to protect yourself and warn others out there that somebody like this might do the same thing to them.
And how long those reports are staying there?
Until you delete them.
Until you delete them. So let's say, what if it was misunderstanding and we solved the situation and you know what, John, come on, this was a situation, that's what happens. I mean, we are human beings. Maybe it was broke down really and we cancel. Would you remove it?
Yes, and that happened one time. We had a carrier cancel on us in a very bad way. They lied to us. We had their carrier on Macro Point. They said the truck broke down, but the guy is driving from Washington into Wyoming. So we know that they were lying. So we put a report up. We canceled them off the load. We recovered it for $1,500 more. And I had the manager call me up about a week later when he saw the report. And he asked, what can we do? We're really sorry. How do we get this off? And we said, you can take a load at the market rate and we deduct $1,500 off the invoice. The second you pick that load up, the freight guard goes away. And that's what we did. And we started doing business with them again.
So they were smart enough to make up story, but they were not smart enough to cancel micro tracking, right?
Well, remember, I'm dealing with the dispatcher. The driver is the one who is macro pointed, but that's correct.
What about those stories? Let's say I have to make up story because I found a better load, right? So I'm giving you a great story. You know what? My driver is not unloading because TQL lied to me. Usually I use TQL Coyote because nobody likes them because they're a big company. You can blame on them a lot of things, right? Although we still have to take freight from them because they are only ones who are going to be working with you when you new carrier. And then I did not have the same story as my driver. You call the driver and he's like, oh yeah, John, still right here in loading. Oh yeah, almost gonna be there. Oh, he say, well, I am empty. Actually, I already pick up the load.
Yep, it's happened. When I was a dispatcher and I had my own trucks, one of my drivers, Carl, I had to cancel his load for a different load, for a customer load. And I called him up and I said, Carl, did the broker dispatch you already? And he goes, oh yeah, they called me. And I said, okay, listen, we have to cancel. Here's why. Don't pick up their phone calls. You know, again, there are certain times where you need to be deceptive. You might find out that the broker has bad credit. They have an F rating. They have a D rating. They don't pay their bills. Why do you want to stick your neck out to help them?
Okay.
So at this point, you're not worried about them, about the broker shipment. You're worried about your own company, which you have to be.
Okay. And then we're talking about December, right before Christmas. Do we have a crazy spot market? What's going on?
Only around the holidays. One thing to be concerned about as a broker that in this country it might not be on your radar is Indian holidays. There's a very large portion of drivers in California and the Midwest who are Punjabi or any type of ethnicity from that side of the world, and they have a lot of holidays that you don't know about. So rates might go up one week, or you might have a driver shortage, or a combination of the two of them. And if you don't know it's an Indian holiday coming up, it's going to hit you by surprise. You're going to be locked into contract rates when you need to be in spot market.
Well, I'm Eastern European, so we usually have Easter different before, after. So in Chicago, and a lot of drivers are not going to be driving on the Easter. So you're going to hit the spot market. Then we have Ramadan. We have a different ethnicities, and we have more holidays than only we talking about USA holidays. Not really. You need to know all other big holidays because we have so many different ethnicities and different religion beliefs that we need to take it in consideration as a trucking company. But also the biggest thing, working around holidays. Don't you think that new dispatchers need to understand that they have to verify not only with you, because let's say you're honest, you do your job, but it's a lot of brokers who don't even really care if the appointment is scheduled, that holidays hours may vary. And yes, maybe there's CNS open all the time, but the night before Christmas or the New Year or something, they're not going to be open. So don't you think it's smart for them to call shipper and receiver directly and ask about the holiday hours?
Yes. Now, as a carrier, if you're going to call a broker's receiver, be very careful with that. They typically don't like that. Don't say you have a delivery appointment. Don't say you're hauling a shipment. Just say, hey, I'm just calling to make sure your receiving hours, you have them on Christmas Eve, New Year's Eve, Ramadan. I want to make sure before I go online and schedule my appointment. Be vague and also respect your customer, the broker's relationship with their receiver.
Well, I would not agree with that. You know what? Because I had so many brokers are not telling the truth that when I want to verify. I want to say, is this appointment scheduled? What time is it scheduled? Because you know what? Maybe you have not been, because I mean, you've been working in few companies. I am dealing with 50, 60, 150 different brokers. A lot of them do not know what they're doing, and they are simply not scheduled the appointments. So if it's around the holidays, I am calling and I'm telling you, can I give you my confirmation? Even if it's Walmart, Costco, whatever, can I verify that it's scheduled? If it's not scheduled, yes, I'm not going to start fighting right there. Well, I'm going to reach out back and I'm going to be saying, well, you know what, guys, this appointment is not scheduled. The earlier I know that it's not scheduled and the load is already on my truck, the faster we can figure this out. And that's why, that's why they call me, wow, she's sassy. Wow, because I need to make sure my guy is not stuck. I'm fighting for my carrier. So you'd better do your job and contact you. Yes, you're trying to tell me, well, protect mass broker relationship. But you know what? I need to protect my business, my driver, my dispatch service, right? So actually, I do believe that you have to be polite. You need to know what you're asking. You cannot freak out and say, oh my God, how, you got the information. Now you need to professionally deal with it, right? So reach out by any means, John. You know what? I verify. And Walmart said that this is not delivering tomorrow. It's scheduled for in 2 days. Is there a mistake? And yeah, you might be telling me, why would you reach out to Walmart? Well, I can tell you this. You know what, John? I'm also know what I'm doing, and I would want to make sure that I'm not sitting in Walmart because there are strict receivers. You have to be careful. How many times do I ask you, guy, a million times, are you sure I have delivery in CNS? Can you start scheduling? Because I know CNS, I know Wagner's. So I will be like that, pain in the butt sometimes, like saying, guys, make sure I have it. I'm going to text him directly. I'm like, did you get it? Did you? Oh, I emailed. Did you get it? So because you know what? It's not, I trust him, but I also know the receivers and shippers. Well, I am very thankful that you joined us today. You jumped to this because we were supposed to meet with a different brokerage company and they had some issues. Somebody got sick due to the COVID. So we will see them tomorrow. And I really appreciate, well, first of all, you had no choice because you're going to be our instructor for our freight brokerage, but you have very deep knowledge in this industry. You've been doing it for a long time. We have to remind everybody that broker training is going to start in September, and John is going to be in charge of our negotiation, our sales, and everything else. So thank you again. Any advice for brand new carriers and dispatcher for this industry? Just like maybe 3, the smartest things to do to succeed.
Always be thorough and be kind. As far as kindness is concerned, your entire career will rest upon building relationships that last. They need to be able to last in the good times and in the bad times. And of course, have fun.
And have fun, right? Don't stress out. And probably not give up, right?
Absolutely. Every problem has a solution. You just need to take the time and ask. Always ask your coworkers, ask your boss, ask your friends. You will find people who will come across situations that you could never have imagined, and their experience will help you out.
And do you believe it doesn't matter if you are a new driver, if you're a new dispatcher, if you're a new broker, that you do need to invest in some training? Good foundation is a must. Because
Absolutely.
we're talking about thousands of dollars. We're talking about carriers being on the road. We're talking about so many things that it's just not fair to go on any side of this business without knowledge. And that's what we're trying to do in dispatcher. That's why we bring in one of the best. That's why you're going to be one of our mentors and teachers, because without knowledge, you cannot be successful.
That's absolutely right. Absolutely right. And surround yourself with a good mentor, whether it's an online mentor, somebody whose videos you found on YouTube, or a coworker, and learn from them. Ask questions and don't be afraid to fail. You will fail, but every step you take that you fail, you're that much closer to succeeding.
And sometimes it's smarter to learn from somebody else's mistakes, especially opening trucking company. And that's the reason why we do a webinar, how to open company, and you should take it before you consider, because it's so many steps that you're going to save thousands and thousands of dollars, and you're going to actually start on the right track. You're going to start right, you're going to go to your goals, and you're going to succeed. Well, thanks again. I'll talk to you later at the end of the day, and I'll see you in September. Hopefully we'll have way more students joining us, because they already finished in dispatch. They already finished a few classes ago. So we already have people signing up, and it was a pleasure as always. And make sure When you hear that new dispatcher, sometimes just give them a slack, set them up.
Thanks, Alex.
Especially, John, if they are mentioning, I am the student from Dispatch Training Center. John, I have been watching that live with Alex, and I know a carrier. John, I am a good dispatcher. My guy has a new equipment. Maybe you can consider set me up a little bit earlier. So remember that. So if they reference Dispatch Training Center, that means that they are good guys. Thank you again.
Wonderful. Thank you, Alex. Take care.
Bye-bye. And again, guys, it was me, Alex. And I am very happy to see all of you today. Again, our next dispatch class starting on September 18th. Start pre-registering because you need to study for the first class. And I hope all of this is helping you out. If you are new to us, make sure you find us. Dispatch Training Center, learndispatchtoday.com. You also have us on YouTube, guys, right? You know us. We are everywhere. So here we are. Subscribe to us, Learn Dispatch Today. We have a bunch of videos you can watch today or tomorrow. I will be posting my new videos from my guys practicing today. They did a great job. Thank you, guys. Thank you. Kalila, I'm coming to Las Vegas. I'll see you in Las Vegas for the Logistics Expo. Thank you, Aliyah. Make sure you practice. The guys did a great job calling today. And here I am. It's me, Alex, and I hope together we can change industry for better. Sign up, follow me, and stay safe on the road. Thanks again. Sorry for my voice. I'll see you soon. Love you guys.